September 21st? Because that's when the Ocala residents have the privilege of helping determine how Ocala is governed. By voting, Ocala residents then have a voice in local issues. Every vote matters. Voting is a privilege. It's also your responsibility. If you don't vote, you give up your right to complain about the outcome. So what are you going to be doing on September 21st? You're going to go out and vote September 21st. With Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. She's taking your call. 622-9622 is the number to call. If you have any questions that you'd like Carol Ann Baldwin to answer, I'm recovering from one of my world-class sneezes. Carol Ann got to see me have a world-class sneeze off air. You thought you might have to perform some sort of medical.
I was going to smack you upside the back of the head. Knock it off now.
Breathe.
That was some sneeze attack there.
Yeah. Before we went to break, I told you that I had a natural phenomenon that I watched firsthand.
Right.
That is very important to plant life.
Right.
And when I lived in Boone, North Carolina, I walked down to my front porch one morning, probably about 9 o'clock in the morning, and my dog yelped a couple times. Oh. And I looked down, and she had, there was 12, 15 bees flying around at the bottom of the porch where she was. So she's trying to eat them.
She's trying to catch them.
Yeah, she got popped a couple times. She's trying to grab them. Yeah. So she comes back up on the porch. So we go inside. About an hour later, went back outside. There's like 350 bees flying around at the bottom of the porch, the back porch. Yeah. We had an old log stream right there and everything, mountain stream, probably 45, 50 feet from the back door. A sweet gum tree had fallen, and it was sweet gum log. About an hour and a half later, my wife at the time goes, "Oh dear God, the backyard is nothing but a swarm." And I looked out the back window. I didn't go out the back porch. I looked out the back window, and it was a curtain of some type of bug. I just assumed it was bees.
It was the bees.
Curtain of bees flying in my backyard. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, had a big swarm.
An hour and a half later, my wife at the time goes, "They're on that sweet gum log." And I go, "What do you mean they're on the sweet gum log?" She goes, "Come here and look." I went there and looked. It was probably 3 or 4 foot in length, and probably come off that log a good 4 or 5 inches. Looked like
enveloped it.
Yeah, it looked like a big cocoon had wrapped the end of that log.
Yeah.
So I called Fish and Wildlife in North Carolina. I go, "Here's what's going on." He goes, "Oh yeah, you got bees. They're traveling. They've swarmed. They've picked your log to rest on."
Right.
He goes, "Don't go outside.
Yeah, don't go out
that back. Because if you disturb them, that many bees will sting you. You'll die."
Right. And because pretty much all the bees probably have somewhat Africanized. I mean, they're not totally. I mean, we still have the European honeybee because honeybees are not native to North America.
No, they are not. They were brought here by the Spaniards.
Right. We have the European honeybees, and that's what we think of. That's what makes the honey. Because the African honeybees are honeybees with a bad attitude, and they don't make as much honey.
Right.
But they're still honeybees.
But so we didn't go outside.
Right.
Called Fish and Wildlife gave us a number to call. We called a guy. He come and removed them for free. I was amazed.
Oh yeah, because he was going to take. Yeah,
he took them. Yeah, they ended up being his bees. He was a beekeeper.
Right. And he was probably the closest property to you that had bees, so he came and.
I'm sure he was in. We were in Blowing Rock. He was in Lenore, which is just down the mountain.
Right.
So, but he came with the beekeeper suit on and everything.
Oh yeah.
And he had the little smoke thing in it, and he smoked them, and then he just took his hand and raked them off. And he got done, and I go, "How many do you think there?" He goes, "I don't know, probably 150, 200,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that's
150, 200,000. Now I knew why Fish and Wildlife didn't want me to go out there, because you get stung by 150, 200,000 of anything.
Just even 100 of them. If you have any, I mean, even if you're not allergic, you're now in danger because what they say, at least with if it's truly an Africanized hive, what this probably was not, is that you've got to be able to go faster than they do, and I've heard that it's basically like 40 miles an hour.
When I asked the beekeeper, I go, one queen? He goes, no, not with this many bees. Yeah. He goes, one queen that's the dominant queen.
And then
But there's probably sisters.
They'll be making
right.
they'll be making more queens once they get settled somewhere.
Right, and that's the thing. He said they were on their way somewhere.
Yeah.
He said they just
when the hive got too large,
so
and so they created another queen, and off they went.
Right.
Because that's usually what happens. To go to go do another one.
And so, but I saw nature at its finest, because without those bees, trees don't grow, flowers don't grow.
There's other pollinators out there. I mean, there are that, again, before the honeybee was imported into North America,
we had here.
Food. Yeah. The Native American had food. It's the squash and the cucumbers and those kind of plants that really need to have the bee as its pollinator. Right. And so, and of course, we all enjoy the honey from it, but and that's, I think, moreover what they were brought in for. But
because there was no sugar back then. Sugar cane, they discovered that in the West Indies, but you sweeten tea and everything with honey.
Right.
Tea sweetened everything. Honey was the sweetener. There was no sugar. There was no saccharin back then.
Nobody knew. I don't know whether or not stevia existed. If anybody knew, or you had mint tea, but it wasn't sweetened, kind of thing.
People forget, horses were introduced to this continent, by the Spaniards.
Right.
Hogs, pigs.
Yeah, everything was brought, hogs brought by the
they
Europeans.
They had wild bison and everything.
On those ships, they brought in
they had wild bison and stuff like that, but they didn't have cows.
Well, you needed a plow horse to break up that ground in order to begin to plant. You didn't just come in somewhere and find a plow horse.
I'm watching right now on the History Channel.
Okay.
Machines That Made America.
I bet that's...
The one I was watching last night was the invention of the gas-powered tractor.
Oh, wow.
And how it, in a matter of 20 years,
took
changed farming into where 50% of the country grew food to feed the country.
Right.
To 3% of the country grew food to feed the country.
Wow.
In 20 years, because of the gasoline-powered tractor.
And the efficiency.
The first ones were steam-powered. Oh, you ready for this?
Yeah.
48,000 pound steam tractors. So
they would
get stuck in the mud, so they'd bog down and everything.
Right.
The gas powered tractors could do the same thing to speed
acreage
at a sixth of the weight.
Right. So it was so it could move faster.
And then John Hoyt came along and he said, "Well, you're getting stuck because of the wheels. If you put tracks in," he took the wheels and put the tracks in between it. He, the man that invented the caterpillar. And you know how he got here's the funny thing, you know how Caterpillar got his name? He was out in the farm, and it was a big steam caterpillar. One of the first ones he built was steam, and it moved at about a half a mile an hour. And the guy goes, "Wow, that moves like a caterpillar." Yeah. He goes, "There's my name." Yeah. Just that easy.
There you go.
That's how he came up. But it's funny how things like that change the course of planting and
on a commercial, on the big commercial nowadays, they're GPS guided, air conditioned. The lines you can't get a straighter line because these are all done GPS.
Oh, you can get a 4950. You can get a 4950 John Deere. It's got a radio in it.
Oh yeah, air conditioning. All your satellite.
Oh, yeah. Tell you all of it.
The whole works.
But it's amazing to me, even the local, your small little, like say you got 3.5, 4 acres of land.
The truck farm, little truck farm.
The little truck farm that you go to the farmer's market and sell your wares on Friday
and Saturday. Set up on the corner by your house,
It's amazing when you go into one of these tractor dealers that you can get a lawn tractor. Like I have a John Deere lawn tractor. It's a 28 horsepower John Deere lawn tractor. Got the big bag on the back of everything. But you can also hook this thing to a harrower where you could actually hair
yeah. And there's different, all the different attachments.
Because, a hand plow, you got a hand plow, even though it's gas powered, that thing will wear you out.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And so it's amazing to me how even a small little, 1 acre, and I'm not saying 1 acre is a small.
No, well, but I
But
mean,
it is.
but still, usually a truck farm should have somewhere over an acre.
Right.
But yeah, because you can fit, and it makes it a little more cost effective to have.
But they have
something
small
larger.
tractors now.
Yes.
That even make that more efficient. Nobody's doing it by hand anymore.
Not hardly, and even the small non-raised bed but in ground gardens, vegetable gardens, and that you have small electric or even 12-volt cultivators.
Right.
That in your little
turn
that'll
the ground
just
over.
turn the ground over, and if you do it right, you're never walking in it, so it's not like you're compacting it, and every time you're just breaking up the top, you're cultivating the weeds away, maybe adding a soil amendment to those areas, and so the small, even the little tiny backyard garden,
From 48,000-pound steam tractors,
right, down
to
to
little bitty things you can use in your little 30-foot by 40-foot
right
little home garden in the
garden
backyard.
patch, right.
Yeah. Good morning. You're on with Master Gardener Carol Ann Bowen.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
There was a picture made in the 80s called "Race Against the Harvest,"
Okay.
and it was about combines harvesting wheat and barley and such. Starred Wayne Rogers and Earl Holliman. It was there was some drama to it, but it was a good look at 1970s and 1980s wheat combines.
Okay.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah.
Farm equipment's just come.
Oh, it has
so
come.
far. Like
major-
Decluit makes a picker that you can ride through a tobacco patch, and it'll just slap the leaves off and put it on the conveyor belt. You don't even have to pick it anymore.
Wow.
It picks it for you.
Wow.
Now, if it's too wet, you got to get it
Yeah,
in the hand
then
pick it.
right.
But this thing goes, it slaps the bottom leaves off. You can set it to slap the bottom leaves, leave the middle
Leave it,
leaves, leave
right,
top
right.
leaves. You can set it, and it'll just go through the field.
And pecans. You think if you go to a you
first
pick
off, it's
pecan
pecans.
place, pecans what you keep under the bed for a cold winter
No, it
night.
didn't. No, it didn't.
Yeah, pecan.
Ask the boy from Georgia, pecan.
I always heard pecan from somebody from up north.
Pecan log.
But you got the picker-upper thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you go to the U-Pick. But commercially, they have this machine that wraps like a big tarp around the tree, and it hugs the tree, and it shakes it.
Yep.
And anything that is ripe
False.
falls into this, and leaving the other ones that are not yet mature.
Shakes the whole tree, too.
Shakes the whole tree. It's kind of like, wow, you would think it'd be uprooting them, but they're tough and sturdy trees that they recover before the next crop going through like that. But it's quite amazing to see
To
how
watch it, because some pecan trees will be 4 or 5 foot around in diameter,
yeah.
and this machine will shake them with no problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just comes in and just
Yeah,
gives them a.
All you gotta do is live in Georgia for a while. You'll see
that,
pecan trees getting shaken.
Yeah.
You'll see it getting shook.
Yep.
Good morning. You're on with Master Gardener Carol Ann Bowen.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Whoop.
And he
Well,
went away.
We lost you.
We lost you. Call us back, Hugh.
Call back, you.
Call us back.
Bad
He
signal.
must have walked into a part of the house that
That-
didn't
that
have any
had-
beer in it. So
Yeah.
the phone didn't work.
Yeah.
Phone didn't work in that part of the house for Hugh. 'Cause
Right.
He didn't have any beer in that part of the house, probably.
Could be.
But yeah, it's just I'm amazed at the technology
Oh,
and how
so, yeah.
people didn't want farming is backbreaking work,
It is,
and it still is today. But I don't even want to fathom how backbreaking of a job it used to be.
Right. Today with modern technologies, it has become, unfortunately, much more corporate. But there's still mom and pop, and I think there's a lot more. Maybe
Organic
small,
mom and pops.
more co-op farming that has actually come back.
There's subdivisions that are built around co-op farming fields in the middle of the subdivision.
Right.
Good morning, you're on with Master Gardener Carol Ann Bowen.
Good morning again.
There you go.
There he is.
You know, I reached in the refrigerator and I lost you.
There's no signal in the fridge.
Right. Say, with tomorrow being the 1st of September,
Yep.
we're getting pretty close to the official end of the wet season, which I think started about a month ago. Is that right?
Usually the rainy season, you figure our peak in the hurricane season's not till the 10th.
Right.
And we still have quite a bit of activity. It's usually, we begin to, the amount of rain, and you've noticed that actually recently, but then again, the tropical systems have pulled the moisture out of our area. But yes, usually September, second week or so of September, the quantity and frequency of rains begins to decline. And that's why the fertilizer applications begin back up sometime in late September, first, in that time of year, so that we're not having all those afternoon showers.
Yeah, we must be pretty much below normal rainfall, because it's been, I don't know, in by my house, or where I live here now in the eastern part of Ocala, it's been dry for, we're getting close to a month now. We've had a couple of rains, but nothing to get excited about. And I watered what I've got in grass and bushes the other day, and I think I'm going to do a little bit more again this afternoon.
Yeah, I've actually had to water my little bit of the vegetables that are left, and more water to the potted plants up on my porch, and they had been fine. They had been, getting plenty of rain, but you're right. I've not had truly significant measurable rainfall in the last few weeks, and so I do believe we are in a dry season, and we do a lot of times go into a cycle, even though we've had an active tropical season. It's not been affecting Central Florida.
We had a gully washer out by my house probably 11 days ago, but it rained so hard that it ran off. It didn't have time to soak in.
Absorb, right? Yeah.
And we've had a couple of those in the last month or so, but we hadn't had any rain where it rained significantly enough
for a couple of hours
at enough pace where it soaked into the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been either been a deluge or nothing.
Yeah, or drizzle.
We have to wait almost till November before we get the cold fronts that come through, which are wonderful rainmakers, and you usually get a steady, at least once a week you get a front coming through and giving us some rain, but that's kind of far away. And
it is.
I hope we get a little more rain. Yeah, I hope we get a little more rain before we're officially in the dry season.
I hope so as well. But it could be that this is showing a sign that we go through some cycles where it's almost like 7 years, and we'll get dry, and then we pick back up again and start back into a rainy season. But it is a cyclic almost like a 7 year within a drought, 7 year recover from that drought, 7 year and back and forth like that.
Yeah, I guess the aquifer is in pretty good shape, because you don't hear anything about people starting to worry about the water level there. But I know, because in the past we've had rainy streaks, and I think the aquifer got pretty well. I know it was above normal about a year ago. They said, I heard on the radio, and maybe we're still pretty good,
I think we're okay right now when it comes to the aquifer, especially because they found that second aquifer actually down further. But I mean, it's still that this is the beginning of something. Because as far as I recall, last year we were okay. But as we come in, as we get ready to go into that dry season, it might be one of those kind of things that if you've never put up a rain collection and you're allowed in your neighborhood, is to collect the water off your roof to water landscape plants and things like that. It might be an idea to think about doing that. Of course, it seems funny during our rainy season to think about rain collection, because we're usually getting enough. But as we know we have a drier season, and like you say, come November, December, January, February, when a cold front comes through, normally it's ushered in with a nice little rain event. And that's how we get that cold front, is because it came down from up north and bringing with it a little bit of moisture.
Yeah. I wonder how they discovered that second aquifer. What caused them to look for it, or how did they find it? Do you have any idea?
I actually do, Hugh. Thanks for the call. Jeff Halcomb, who used to be the water czar for the city of Ocala, actually spoke in depth about that on the Voice of Ocala radio program I used to be a part of. And Jeff has always heard that there had been one, so Jeff and a couple engineers and all, they decided to start looking for it. And they found a couple places in Ocala they thought they should drill. And they actually drilled down and discovered the second aquifer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
And
that's
yeah.
deeper.
It's much much deeper. So it
and it
much
runs.
more
He says
pure.
runs much more runs faster under there
Right.
too.
I can a little more less obstructed
Right.
by anything.
And a lot more pure water than what we
because
have
it's
in our
filtered
aquifer.
because
Yeah.
it's filtered further. But it's still one of those things. And knowing it's there, hopefully we're not tapping that resource yet.
Well, you know, and we got
need.
all kind of like people forget the Chattahoochee River runs all the way to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And it starts the headwaters in the North Georgia mountains.
Right. Right.
And that's water for Florida.
That it is. Yes.
People forget that that's actually a water tributary for
source
Florida,
for
the
Florida.
Panhandle.
Right.
They use that river a lot. Matter of fact, there's a lot of angst between the state
Yes,
of Georgia and the state of Florida.
because we own the rights to.
Right, we
the
own
water.
because we're at the end, and Georgia goes, "No, it's our water," and Florida goes, "No, it's our water."
It's actually ours. Yeah.
So there's a lot of angst on.
Right.
But you know, there's a lot of tributaries like that. Like the Ocala is a water
yeah,
source. The
yeah.
Silver River is a water source.
We have a lot of areas, and then just a lot of our open areas. I mean, the Everglades, it's Everglades restoration because again, I mean,
Lake
even though
Okeechobee.
that's Lake Okeechobee is a huge, that's their water supply down there. Just the open areas here at the airport are recharge areas. What was it we talked about? For an inch of rain was
13 inches of
13
snow.
inches of snow, and we figure we get more than an inch of rain at a time. And I forget, there's probably a formula. Somebody might even remind me. I had heard it one time before. How much water 1 acre of grass area recharge does, and you figure how many acres are most of your golf courses.
Yeah, well,
and things like
and
that,
Muni's a
and
recharge.
big areas.
Muni's golf course was designed when they did the redesign. They designed it to alleviate the flooding that was happening in the neighborhoods around there, and on Highway 40.
Right.
So they made
the monster pipe is
retention,
underneath it. Goes in that area, and a lot of this is recharge area, and that's why the newer retention areas have different design. They have different heights of where that water comes in and goes out and transfers to different locations because they are recharge areas and trying to clean that water before it gets down into our underground cavern systems, and that we have to, and that's another reason why we have to continue to be. You can still have a nice lawn, you can still control your weeds, you can and still be a good steward of our environment, our water resources, and things like that. And one of those number one ways of doing that is my mantra: read and follow those label instructions, so that you're not part of the problem, because most of the time it is what they consider non-point source pollution, and that doesn't. And point source would mean somebody's dumping it into the lake directly, or they're fertilizing too close to the lake. But those of us who are here into Ocala, city of Ocala, or whatever, it would be non-point source. It's the runoff that goes down into the storm drain that then goes down and carries forward into the retention areas, into the aquifer, or down into the other lakes, rivers, and streams.
we didn't have, but there was a catastrophic storm that went into New Orleans, into Louisiana yesterday.
Yes.
You know how powerful a storm you got to be to redirect the flow of the Mississippi River?
That's a power, yes.
And it redirected for about 5 hours yesterday. The Mississippi River flowed north.
Yes.
You got to be a pretty powerful storm to turn
take
the second longest river in the United States.
Yeah, it's a wide.
Yeah, it's not
wide river.
It's not a nice. It's not an easy. That'd be like.
It's not like the Withlacoochee.
Could you
or the
imagine if
Aquila.
somebody at the mouth of the St. Johns is 1.5 miles wide up in Jacksonville?
Right.
Could you imagine a storm surge enough to make the St. Johns flow south instead of north like it does? That'd have to be a whole lot of water coming in.
That's a whole lot of water coming in.
And that's the Mississippi.
Yes.
And it for 5 hours 2 days ago, the Mississippi flowed north.
Yeah.
And that our hearts go out to the people that were in the path of that storm.
In the path, and still in the path. It's a tropical storm now, but it's still wreaking havoc in Tennessee, where they just got over some serious flash flooding. It's going to go up and hit the Mid-Atlantic.
I got a buddy of mine
that
lives in Boone, North Carolina still.
Okay.
He goes, I decided to go to Tennessee instead of come up here because it knew we'd rip it apart. Because it gets in the mountains between Knoxville, Asheville, Boone, all that area. it gets up in the middle of those Smoky Mountains, it'll tear a storm
It starts
apart.
tearing apart, but you still have quite a bit of that rain that's
Right.
out. The winds may begin to die.
But it's not. It's going to stay on the left side,
yes.
and it's going to go up in the Mid-Atlantic states. Pennsylvania's looking like it
New
may
York,
get some.
yes.
New York again. From the back side this time instead of the front side,
Right.
like the hurricane that just went,
Right.
Henri,
Right.
just went on the front side. Now they're coming in the back
Coming
side.
out the back door, yep.
Phew. Caroline, tell people where they can find you.
The In the Garden Facebook group page. Reach out anytime, or you can find me a little later on this week at work down there at Lowe's and Lady Lake.
WOCA, The Source, Caroline Baldwin, every Tuesday. Talk to you next week, Caroline.
Yes.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The Biden administration has left Americans behind in Afghanistan, numbering in the hundreds. It's being reported from senior U.S. sources, house-to-house executions in Kabul following the U.S. military departure have begun, as gunfire is being heard throughout the residential sections of Kabul. Audio from South African journalist Laura Logan on Twitter. Taliban fighters, all wearing brand new U.S. uniforms and brand new weapons and brand new equipment, took over the airport. 1 million people are still without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. The sweltering heat in the area is amplifying the need to get the power turned back on. It is unknown how many people lost their lives from Ida, but Governor John Bell Edwards, a Democrat, tells NBC News he expects the death toll to climb higher.
That as the day goes on, we will have more deaths. We're going to be getting information throughout the day that I fully expect the confirmed death total to go up considerably.
USA Radio News.
I'm looking forward to a play date with my granddaughter.
I can't wait to get together with my friends for a backyard barbecue.
If you're 65 or older, you're starting to get back to doing things you love. Did you know even healthy adults 65 and older are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia? It's a potentially serious bacterial lung disease that can disrupt your life for weeks. Help protect yourself with the Prevnar 13 pneumococcal 13 valent conjugate vaccine, diphtheria CRM 197 protein. Prevnar 13 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 13 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Prevnar 13 does not protect against all strains of the disease. Ask your doctor or pharmacist today about Prevnar 13. Learn more at Prevnar13.com. Don't get Prevnar 13 if you have had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with a weakened immune system may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-866-694-9300 or visit Prevnar13.com.
More on the Afghan departure.
One of the top-selling houseplants known for its style in magazines and hotel lobbies. That's coming up on This Land of Ours.
I love living in a rural community where neighbors help neighbors, even if we don't always agree on sports teams, politics, or the COVID-19 vaccines. We all have our opinions. Getting vaccinated is your choice, and no one can make your mind up for you. Talk to your healthcare provider about your questions to help make a decision that's right for you. GetVaccineAnswers.org has the latest information to help you decide. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, let's sing Old MacDonald.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on his farm he had a wetland, native plants, wildlife habitat, windbreaks, contours.
Conservation is growing some wonderful things on America's farms and ranches, but it has put a new wrinkle in an old song. Conservation, there's something in it for you. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Fiddle-leaf figs are an evergreen ornamental, also known as banjo fig or lyre leaf tree. You can grow them outdoors if you live in the right climate, but they are more suited to being an indoor ornamental in most places. In the U.S., outside specimens typically grow to about 20 feet tall. Indoors, they're limited to about 10 feet tall. Fiddle-leaf figs have become the in plant to have. You will see them in design and fashion magazines, upmarket hotel lobbies, and stylish homes all over the place. You won't normally see the fiddle-leaf fig produce fruit, especially indoors. They aren't like the edible figs that people spend a fortune on at supermarkets. This popular houseplant has a bit of a reputation for being particularly fickle in regards to light, water, soil, and temperature. And just a warning, fiddle-leaf figs release a latex that can be irritating to the skin. Wear gloves when working with this plant. I'm Kathy Isom, Southeast AgNet.
When it really counts, depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
We'll have sun and clouds today with a thunder shower this afternoon. High today 89 to 93. Then partly cloudy tonight with a thunderstorm in spots late and a low of 72 to 77. Humid day Wednesday with a mix of clouds and sunshine. High tomorrow 84 to 91. A couple of showers and thunderstorms Thursday. A humid day with a high of 83 to 88. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
It's rodeo time in Ocala. The 39th annual Ocala Shrine Rodeo returns to the Southeastern Livestock Pavilion September 3rd and 4th, 7:30 nightly. Witness the superstars of the PRCA as cowboys ride to help children walk. For tickets and information, check out OcalaShrineRodeo.com for broncs, bulls, and babes. The Ocala Shrine Pro Rodeo, September 3rd and 4th, 7:30 nightly.
And that's what sets Candid.
This is a reprise of the Sunrise Auto. Matt's not with us. This was from January 19th of this year. Auto repair with personal care.
Woohoo!
Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto. See, I told you I get it.
You got it.
I'll never do it again. Matt, good morning.
Morning. What's happening?
On a day like today, or in the days we've had, because we just talked to Carol Ann Baldwin, Master Gardener, it's been a colder than normal winter than we're used to, and it got cold early. It cooled off in November. Usually, it cools off for us about February 1st, lasts to about February 21st, and then we're done. But it's gotten a little colder. My girlfriend's nephew, he goes to USF, but USF is on. Virtual right now.
Okay.
He's from Chicago, lives in Chicago with his parents. So he brought his Kia and set it at our house, and we went about 3 weeks without cranking it during the cold snap. So on Sunday, I pulled the Cadillac over, put the jumper cables on it. About 30 minutes it took for it to get enough power to crank the Kia. We drove it for an hour. Dead battery still. Did the winter get that battery?
Yeah.
Is that what happened there?
Yeah.
And it happens.
It happens.
And batteries aren't like they used to be. I remember when I was a kid, you just popped the little plastic tops off the battery. You pour a little water in there, a little distilled water in there.
Distilled water.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put the caps back on them, and your battery's ready to go again.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
So the battery probably, an hour would have been enough for it to hold a charge.
Yeah.
And when we cut it off, it cranked right up after the hour. We let it sit for 3 hours, went back out there, dead.
The only thing else that I would want to check is make sure that there's not some kind of a draw. So in other words, like some kind of a relay sticking, light sticking on, something like that.
Well, we didn't see any of that.
Right. So
and when you put the it was dead. When you opened the door and everything, you got no lights coming on, no nothing. As soon as you hooked up the battery cables, the interior lights came on. So
I'd still. If it was us and we were putting a battery in it, we would still check it to make sure that there wasn't a draw.
But is that one of the casualties of winter? Usually,
Yes.
batteries.
Yeah. We sell more batteries right now than we'll sell in the next 2. We'll sell more batteries in an 8-week period than we'll sell in the whole rest of the year.
And I know it's not the alternator. Because as the car was running, I took the positive cable off the battery and it stayed running. Right. So it's not the alternator.
That's right.
I don't know, like I said, I don't know how to work on cars a lot, but I do know, just through osmosis, a few things. And I knew once the positive cable came off and it stayed running once it was cranked, the alternator's good because the battery just cranks the car. It doesn't operate the car. The alternator operates the car.
That's right. Once the engine's running, the battery just takes a charge. That's it. That's all it does.
But this is your big battery time.
Yes,
this time of year.
And the other thing too, for I don't know. Okay, so when I started doing this stuff, I was a kid. I was 16 years old. All the GM cars, they had the side post terminals.
Right.
They had it ever since I've been working on cars. The GM cars all had the side. Now they switched and went to the top post Now they went to these European style batteries where the posts are sunk down in the battery, so it takes a special terminal to get on there, and they're like $200 now. I mean,
yeah,
the batteries are crazy.
I remember the batteries when I was a kid that had the posts coming out the top. They were out of the top, and I remember one was in the floorboard of the Chrysler Coronet my daddy had, and I was sleeping in the back window. He slammed on the brakes. I headbutted that battery in the floorboard. That took 3 stitches. You know what, though? I lived.
You're here.
You know, people say, oh, we need this, we need that. Look, if we lived through the 70s, we're good.
Yeah.
People worry about coronavirus. I said, folks, I drove around in a Chrysler New Yorker with the windows rolled up and my mom chain smoking. I'm good. But so what other problems do you have winter-wise besides batteries?
Well, it seems like we have more cooling system issues. You know, water pumps leaking, heater cores plugging up, heater cores leaking, hoses. Because here's another thing. So it's not an upper, lower, and heater hoses anymore. Now there's an upper hose with a plastic connector in the middle of it, with a line going off to this bypass part on the intake manifold, which, it's like, an upper radiator hose may have 3 hoses hooked to it.
It's nowadays. A labyrinth of hoses now.
Yeah, and it's like, where do you get this hose? Well, you have to get it from the dealer because it's so crazy.
Used to be a 3/4 inch or 1 inch hose that ran from one base to the next. You were done.
Yeah, it's not that way anymore. And then they got plastic connectors inside the hose where it connects to the heater core, or it may hook to a connector in the back of the intake manifold. And all that's plastic. So this cold gets in there and causes the plastic to get brittle,
cracks.
Then they crack after a few years, and then you got it's
it ain't getting any easier for you. What you say?
No, it's getting it, and sometimes it's I hate to say it like this, but it gets dumber.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be said for that. Hi, caller, who's this?
Yeah, Tom, this is Sonny. Hello, Matt.
Howdy, Sonny.
You're talking about the subject I wanted to call on. Some of these hybrid cars and the electric cars, like the Volt and all that. These batteries are new generation batteries, and they have all kinds of components in there. I mean, it's not like the old lead acid batteries, and these things are super expensive. I mean, you pay a fortune for the car nowadays. And then if the battery goes on it, that car don't go no more. And to replace that battery, we're talking thousands of dollars from what I'm reading. And I'm just wondering, if there's going to be something new. I mean, this really adds to the expense of driving, if you ask me. Anyway, I was just wondering how you think of, with these new batteries that they're putting out with, I mean, they don't look like the old batteries, and they definitely cost a lot more. Plus, a lot of these batteries you have to buy so that the battery can fit in the battery case of this particular car. So I read one of these crazy cars. The battery is an integral part of the platform of the car. I'll hang up and listen to what you think is going to be going on here. I mean, there's a lot of money to be thinking about when you buy one of these electric cars.
Sonny's right about that. My roommate had a Prius. Had a Prius. He had to replace the battery in. $4,800. So Sonny's right. What's the deal with these batteries, Matt?
Well, I've been fighting these batteries to my core, but I think I've just kind of coming to the understanding this is the way it's going to be. I can't.
Everything's going hybrid.
Right. I can't stop it. So here's
Joe Biden has his way. Everything's going electric.
Huh. Well, let's. Huh. So. Huh. All right. So I see
the batteries, Matt.
The battery. Thank you, Tom. Bring me back. You got to bring me back. Every once in a while, you got to pull me back.
The batteries, Matt. The batteries.
So I'm seeing this technology is changing dramatically at a rapid pace. So the more that they're doing with this, our tools that we have that we use on the cars, before, you plugged in the thing into the air ratchet and the plug into the thing to the guns with the air hoses, they're pretty much becoming obsolete now. It's almost to the point where we don't even need air in the shop anymore. I mean, I got tools
except to take the tires off.
No, I even got tools that'll take a tire off.
Oh.
I mean, now some of the big trucks that we do, you got to have that they don't have that kind of power yet. But air ratchets, and what's nice, I'm not dragging in cords. I'm not, in people's cars. But the technology on the smaller scale is just going to, they're just going to take that technology and bring it into the bigger scale.
Remember, the Prius is a little over 20 years old.
Yeah.
The first Prius came out in 2000, I think. So it's a little over 20 years old.
Yep.
Now they have full-size F-150s that are hybrids.
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago, you didn't have enough battery power to have a hybrid F-150.
Right.
Now you have hybrid F-150s.
Yeah, and I just worked on it was a Mode 2. It was General Motors. It was a Chevrolet Tahoe, and the Chevrolet uses the same exact technology that's in the Toyota Prius.
Right.
It's the same exact battery pack. It's just for the Tahoe is just double in size.
Right, because it's got to have more power.
It's just got to have more batteries. And inside, you take these things apart. What's going to happen, though, is, and it's already has, Dorman is a huge manufacturer of aftermarket parts. So, like, if your window motor goes bad in your Cadillac, you can buy the $600 Cadillac window motor, which Cadillac doesn't make window motors.
Or you could buy the $250 one from Dorman that I had to replace in my passenger side back window.
There you go. And it comes with a lifetime warranty.
100%.
And so, and
I'm fixing to have to do it in my front driver and front passenger.
Yeah.
Because they roll down well.
They don't go up well.
They don't go up well, which means the motor's on their way out.
Oh, and you might as well do the motor, regulator, the whole thing.
All of it.
All of it at one shot.
Hi, caller. Who's this?
Good morning, guys. Huey calling.
Morning, Hugh.
See, I'm living up north all my life in sub-zero weather. Very, very hard on a battery. You're lucky sometimes if you park outside to get it going. But I don't. It's hard for me to understand it. I've been hearing, and I think even Matt mentioned the fact that hot weather is harder on a battery than cold weather, zero weather. Is that true?
Well, we do more. We'll change more batteries right now in the cold weather than we will in the hot weather. And maybe because when it's hot here, it's hot. It just stays hot. I think what happens to us with the batteries is that today it's 28 degrees. Tomorrow it's going to be 80 degrees.
Right, yeah.
You know,
the schizophrenia of the weather, the bipolar weather does it in the back.
Yeah, I think it does. I think that's what really does it more than the cold or the hot. I mean, I don't know. I've just been doing this for a long time, and our battery sales will go through the roof. December, January, February, way more than the rest of the year.
Yeah. See, like up north in sub-zero weather, what actually happens to a battery in sub-zero weather to make it not work good?
Thanks for the call, Hugh. What does happen to a battery in the cold weather to make it where it doesn't work as well?
I have no idea. I don't. He's from the sub-zero weather, not me.
Yeah, but even in Florida, when it gets cold, batteries don't seem to work.
They don't seem to work.
And it seems counterproductive because I know as a kid, when you're talking about batteries, your AA's and AAA batteries that go into your remotes and all, you want to keep those good. Keep them in the freezer.
Well, that was the old.
Yeah.
But is that a myth? Is that just
my grandma did it. That's all I know. So if my grandma did it, it must have worked.
It had to have worked. If grandma does it, man. You just do it.
Grandma had the greatest. She had the greatest cough syrup too.
What was that?
Bourbon, honey, and lemon. It was great cough syrup. Really, what she was doing was getting a little kid drunk and you'd pass out. You thought it was cough syrup. Let me, when talking about the hybrids and the batteries and all, and talking about this, how has that technology progressed to the point? I'm always worried about those batteries catching fire. That's somebody says, Tom, did you ever have a hybrid car? I know they say they're safe, but just something I've seen golf carts catch on fire that are run by batteries, and so and they go up. And so it concerns me. Is that a concern I should have?
I think that's a legitimate concern. Look at for a while there, if you had a certain Samsung cell phone, you couldn't get on an airplane.
You know what I'm saying? The Note 7, I remember.
Yeah. So I mean, and
lithium batteries burn hot.
There you go. And just like my son, we got it. Like when he's using his laptop, we got to make sure that
doesn't sit on his legs.
That's right.
Burn your legs, 100%.
Right. So, and he won't know it, So yeah, there's always the chance of a battery. Well, same thing in your car battery. If it shorts, you know what I'm saying? It'll short out. And I don't know if you've ever seen a battery explode.
One time, and I'll tell you where it was, the Florida Turnpike, just past the Mineola exit, before you got to, past the Leesburg thing, there was a van, a painter's van, that caught on fire, the engine compartment. And they were getting the people out and everything, and I go, that battery's going to explode. Now, I'd never seen one, but I'd always heard, I've watched Mythbusters, and so that battery's going to explode. If y'all don't get out of there, we got people out of there and all. The battery exploded, put a hole in the hood of that van, probably the size of a basketball. Now, it was a painter's van, so all the paint and all eventually caught on fire. The whole thing blew up, gas tank and everything, before a fire truck could get there. It was quite a spectacular light show when we were 100 yards away from it.
Yeah.
But I was only about 20 yards away from it when that battery let go. And let me tell you something, that was a scary, scary moment.
Yeah. Well, I was underneath the hood of a car when battery blew up.
That's no good.
And all I did was I had to take the battery out to get to a module that controlled the fans, the electric fans on the Cadillac. And then once I replaced the module, I put the battery back in. And then I had someone to go hit the key.
Boom.
And boom.
Eyebrows gone?
I don't, to this day, I don't know how I didn't get I didn't not a drop of battery acid on me. Man, the good Lord was looking at me that day.
You must have been living right that day.
Because it was quite the explosion.
Do batteries still operate on acid and everything?
Yeah.
Right? It's still the same concept. You just can't put distilled water in them anymore.
Right, they're sealed now because people don't understand. A battery produces, when it gets hot like that, it produces hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is extremely flammable.
Ask the people on the, you can't ask them on the Hindenburg. That's right.
So I think the manufacturers of the battery company, what probably did it was probably a couple lawsuits.
Oh, yeah.
That probably, and said, why don't we just make these things where people just can't mess with them? We'll guarantee them for a couple years, and then and we'll go on with it.
Here's my problem. I looked at the battery that we were talking about in the car that is dead now. And it has Jan, Feb, March, it's got the 12 months. And it's got 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, right? Nothing marked.
Okay. On the battery somewhere, it was going to be a stamp.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you take...
I know you're supposed to take a wax pen and mark the month and the day it was bought, and then you got 36 months or 48 months or 60 months.
Well, they don't do that no more. Those days are gone.
Are they?
Most of them are 24 months automatic free replacement because they used to they prorated batteries.
Right, yeah.
For the first 24 months, you got a free battery. If it went 30 months, you got to pay 1.6275 times the time that you had left over to find out you only saved $3.52.
Right.
So they don't.
I remember the prorated batteries.
That's why I got my diploma, was to have to figure out how much credit to give somebody on their battery.
Well, the only places I remember prorated were you got batteries prorated for your car, and Turtles Records and Tapes prorated cassettes because you would burn them up, or you get in there with a pencil and you'd mess up. You were trying to rewind with a pencil or something. So if you'd have bought the cassette a year and a half ago, they would prorate the price on the cassette too.
Oh, I never knew that.
If you played as much music as I did, I got the Billy Idol, Vital Idol. I got that cassette replaced 3 times free.
You just wore it out.
We melted that sucker. Right now, though, not right now, but in Florida, I always hear as I'm driving down the road, and right now I got my windows down because it's nice in the afternoon, so I'm getting some of the cooler area and everything. You always hear people sound like they're running straight headers.
Yeah. And
I know that means they got a hole in their muffler. Is that it? I mean, that used to be a law that you had to get that fixed. I mean, am I missing something, or is it just something cops don't pull people over for anymore, or?
Yeah, they don't really mandate that kind of stuff. I think they would if you have a headlight out or brake light out or tail light out, but we don't have emissions laws. Yeah, I know that. I think a lot of people, I think they actually did on purpose. They think it sounds cool.
It's noisy. Yeah, and the ones I don't like are the Japanese cars.
The little.
Yeah. I'm like,
it sounds like a helicopter trying to take off.
I'm like, where's the drone?
Yeah, that's it. It's a drone.
I'm like, where's the drone at? I just, and I know you try to make a Honda Civic a muscle car and everything. I mean, I watch Fast and the Furious. I get stop. It's a Honda Civic. It's not a muscle car. Yeah. And now but there's aftermarket stuff where you could soup up any car you want to.
Yeah, you can do it. And let me tell you something. Some of those Japanese cars with the right motors
can go.
I had a guy come in and he wanted me to take 9 pounds off his flywheel. So he wanted me to cut 9 pounds of metal off his flywheel. Not me, buddy. He says, no. I said, not me. I ain't doing that.
He go to some machine shop.
Yeah, he found someone to do it, and he put a blanket on the transmission and everything. But he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and man, this car was. Stout.
I seen a sweet car. I was at the red light at 25th and 14th Sunday, coming back from church, and I looked, and this car said, the tag said, run 765.
Oh, wow.
And I went, that's a 55 Chevrolet. Run 765. He said he can do a 765 quarter mile. So I pulled up close to him. Oh, I promise you, he had the 2-head blower coming out the hood and everything. And I looked at it, and he had the big slicks on the back and the short wheel, the small wheels in front. I thought, maybe that thing could do a 765.
I guarantee you, I wouldn't be driving that on the road.
He was on the road with it, and I rolled the windows down, and it went boom, 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 boom. It sounded beautiful. But I thought, he's got way too much car on this road. And I don't know if it runs 765 meant 765 horsepower. I don't know what it meant, because with that blower and everything, you don't know.
Yeah, yep.
I don't know if it was 7.6 quarter mile or 765 horsepower. I don't know. But his tag said run 765, and that car was lime green with the silver inlays in it. Oh, it's a good-looking car. Good-looking car. That's my dream, though. My uncle ruined me. He left my 55 Chevrolet. I told you that story. When it went to Vietnam, my dad gave him the Chevrolet. He left it at a house out in Oklahoma or Nebraska somewhere beside a house. My 55 Chevrolet. My dad said, I'm going to give you this to go, because he was going to San Diego. So I'm going to give you this, but you bring it back, because that's the boy's car when he gets old enough. My 55 Chevrolet. Still upset about that. I'm 54 years old now. This was 1972. He gave it to my uncle.
Oh, wow.
I was 6. So I'm 48 years into this. I'm still pissed. And by the way, my uncle probably did me a huge favor, because it may have just been a 1955 money pit.
That's right. That's right.
Because I hear some of these stories about the money these guys put into these cars.
Oh, I personally know a guy that has 22 years of his life and probably 150,000 of his dollars.
His name's not Matt Gibbs, is
Nope.
it?
Nope.
Well, you see, like, I got a very good friend of mine who is a Porsche guy. And he's got the newest Porsche, but he's got 8 Porsches. And he's got one all the way that's a 1964 Porsche. And he says that it cost him more money to take that 64 Porsche out and drive it, because of all the stuff he has to do once he puts it back in the garage, and how he has to make sure it stays in good condition. It cost him more to drive that Porsche for a day than it does to drive his brand new Porsche for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
I can see that.
But that's a pretty good collection to have. You got eight Porsches from 1964 to right now.
Yeah, that's a nice little car collection.
Nice little car collection. And not a bad car manufacturer, by the way.
No.
Unlike Jaguars, where Jaguars used to be 1 day on the road, 8 days in the shop.
Yeah.
1 day on the road, 8 days in the shop. I used to think when I was in college, you'd know the kids that had parents that had way too much money. They were the kids that drove the CJ7s, Jeep CJ7s, or the Jaguars. Because both of those, 1 day on the road, 7, 8 days in the shop. 1 day on the road, 7, 8 days in the shop.
Yeah, they always said if you want to drive a CJ, just make sure you have something else to drive during the week.
Exactly. And that was the. I can tell you at least 10 different occasions where me and my buddy Ryan were stranded on the side of 301. Yeah, the same 301 that comes through here, on the way to or on the way from the county line liquor store because you couldn't buy liquor at Bullet. That is Matt Gibbs with Sunrise Auto in a reprise. We'll be back after this short timeout. You're listening to the 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The Biden administration has left Americans behind in Afghanistan, numbering in the hundreds. It's being reported from senior U.S. sources, house-to-house executions in Kabul following the U.S. military departure have begun, as gunfire is being heard throughout the residential sections of Kabul. Audio from South African journalist Laura Logan on Twitter. Taliban fighters, all wearing brand new U.S. uniforms and brand new weapons and brand new equipment, took over the airport. 1 million people are still without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. The sweltering heat in the area is amplifying the need to get the power turned back on. It is unknown how many people lost their lives from Ida, but Governor John Bel Edwards, a Democrat, tells NBC News he expects the death toll to climb higher.
That as the day goes on, we will have more deaths. We're going to be getting information throughout the day that I fully expect the confirmed death total to go up considerably.
USA Radio News.
In the last 12 months, the Federal Reserve has added over $4 trillion to their balance sheet. It's led to an explosion in financial assets. Stocks, bonds, commodities, cryptocurrencies, housing prices have all exploded higher. But the Federal Reserve can't keep this going forever. This is unsustainable. It's why you need Advantage Gold. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver the right way. Call 800-900-8000. We don't pay celebrities millions of dollars. We pass that value on to you. It's why we're number one. Call 800-900-8000 now. Speak with one of our experts and learn how. We'll send you a free gold kit and a copy of my national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call 800-900-8000.
You know what you want to do in retirement, but do you know how to get there? Tune in to Coasting into Retirement with Gary Marriage of Nature Coast Financial Advisors, Sunday mornings at 8 to get answers to your retirement planning questions. Plan today so you can do the things you've always dreamt about doing in retirement. Listen Sunday mornings at 8 to Coasting into Retirement with